This video will cover price predictions for Bitcoin and some of the major altcoins. What's going to happen now? Is Bitcoin already topped? What kind of levels do we need to keep an eye on? And how far are we along this quote-unquote 4-year cycle? By the way, if you haven't already, check out some of my recent videos. I go into it in probably a lot more detail. So we're just going to summarize in this video. We're going to start with Bitcoin first because that's the most important one. And here with Bitcoin, basically in my kind of Bitcoin review video, which is about 15-20 minutes long, basically I talked about how in literally just a couple more weeks we'll be at the same cycle length from beginning to end as we were in the previous cycle. So it's a very natural place for us to be ending either already or very, very soon. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The other thing I mentioned was the previous all-time highs we saw. We saw a higher high in November 2021, which looked like a corrective move, like a three-wave move, as you can see here. And you wonder if we're doing the same thing again, and maybe we've just completed. So if you actually come down in price now below 110, and let's say Bitcoin drops below 100, I think it's getting very, very likely that this is playing out all over again. So what do I mean exactly? I mean literally the same correction. So here to here and then a bear market. That's what we're seeing here. That's my point. You have to be well aware of this scenario and possibility and have that in your calculations. I mean, it's pretty obvious we've run from 15 all the way to 124. We're not going to have long to go this time before some major correction in Bitcoin. But the problem this time is because of the Bitcoin dominance and because alts are so unbelievably weak that if Bitcoin goes down in a strong way, obviously it's going to hold a higher low than last time. It's not going to get anywhere near 15k. But if it holds a higher low this time, let's say this scenario is happening again, alts will get absolutely murdered, obviously, even if they're already 90% down. So yeah, definitely keep this in mind. Let's zoom in to the shorter term time frame. Now, I discussed in the Bitcoin video how we were moving sideways and I wondered if this was a wave 4 chop. And if it is, it needs to finish literally immediately in the next couple of days and turn and do a final 5-wave move up to about 130-ish, and we call it a day. And that's the final kind of 5-wave move up and we're done. Now, it could get a little bit messy, and what could happen is we could go a little bit deeper and then we might be doing some sort of diagonal here to finish off. That's fine too, but that just means sideways chop. Hopefully, if we can do that and we're still pushing up a little bit, it gives alts a little bit of room to run. That's the hope. But if we're done already and this is indeed part of a larger correction, then yeah, be very ready for extreme selling, literally any time. I'll just cover some of the majors quickly. Solana, I've mentioned many times in the last few weeks. I mentioned how I think personally it's topped already and we were doing a 3-wave move. Again, look back through my last few altcoin videos and I would have discussed that and how we were going to take out these highs, which we have done. And then the hope was we would, if it was genuinely bullish, we would, pull back a little bit, turn, and then do a 3rd wave, 4th wave, 5th wave. It's looking much more likely that we're going to dump and take out all of these lows. And the thing with Solana and Ethereum, this is what I think is happening with these two long term, because they're blockchains that are used obviously for NFTs, meme coins, stuff like that. So what you can see here since last year, February, is we've been ranging really between 100 and 200. And what I think long term is going to happen is Solana and Ethereum, they're not really going to have those 95, 99% drops anymore. Because they're being used, they're more just going to range here for probably a very long time, in my opinion. Ethereum, I think, is similar. If you look at this move, which, to the naked eye looks extremely bullish, like lots of green candles, we're pushing straight up, Bitcoin at all-time highs. Now is the rotation into Ethereum, and then we rotate into alts and blah, blah, blah. Even though, obviously the cycle's been running for quite a long time now. But anyway, when you look at this move and you look at the fibs, one thing to know is we've touched literally exactly to the dot 1.236, which is actually a very common ABC target. So kind of like Solana, I'm wondering if Ethereum has done the same and it could be done here. And what I'm thinking again long term is, if that scenario plays out, are we doing the same thing with Ethereum? We're just ranging for long periods of time in between here, because obviously you've got the ETFs now and stuff as well. People use it, as I've said before, for NFTs, many other things. And you've got many other layers with the Ethereum back. It's in constant use. So there's always kind of buy pressure, but there's always sell pressure as well, because nobody's seeing it as an investment anymore. Nobody's seeing it as kind of the things we saw in 2019 run up all the way to 2021. It's not going to happen with Ethereum anymore, in my opinion anyway. I can't make out from these lows any of this being bullish. I think it's just sideways corrective chop. So there's a good chance, I think, if Bitcoin continues to dump, is going to carry a lot of the alts with it. I can't see them surviving here, because usually even at the end, as Bitcoin moves up and it slows down its movement upwards, alts do get their rally, and we did see some alts rally. It's just we saw the better newer ones rally. And where are we on those? So some of the ones I mentioned recently, one is Pengu. The hope was that we were tracing out a wave 4, even if it's a sharper wave 4. For that to play out, all we need to do here, everything's going kind of well so far in terms of a pullback, but what we need to do here is we need to go into this area here, so 0.3 to 0.32. We need to nestle into here, develop a base, accumulate, and then we'll do one final blow off wave 5. That's the hope. However, there is a counter here where you could argue we are done as well. You could argue that maybe this was the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and we're done as well. So it's very, very tricky. So obviously, if it doesn't hold these levels and starts getting even deeper, like 0.27 or something like that, it's very unlikely this is going to do some other all-time high run, in my opinion. It's very possible we could be done there, because rather than this being a kind of 4-5, this could have been the same thing as Ethereum. It could have been just a larger 3-wave move. And if you look at the fibs, this is 1.618 here, which is another common ABC target. So what I'm saying in essence is, after launch, we dumped, we did a 3-wave retracement back up, and we continued to dump. Very, very possible. Keep this on your radar. Some of the stronger coins from the last few months have done what I was hoping they wouldn't. And again, look at my last altcoin video. What you don't want them to do is just tag this A high, just tag it. So to go just above, capture all the liquidity, all the breakout traders, leverage traders, stuff like that, and then suddenly dump. It's doing that now. So again, this doesn't look bullish either. This just looks like sideways correction. And again, it's not, to be honest, it's not looking great. Some of them, like you can see Tau here, if you look very carefully, you see it did a breakout here, but this was a fake out, which I've talked about many times on my channel. This is a common trap, so you have to be careful. What you're looking for after a breakout is you're looking for it to hold. It could bounce on the trend line as well and go up, but it didn't do that. It failed. And it actually created a lower high, which is not good. And now this correction is getting very deep already. And again, you could say, already topped a long time ago. Nothing's going to change with Tau. Let's look at some random rubbish like Chainlink. You can see very clearly, topped last cycle. This is what I talk about, 3-wave moves and overlap. So it's all corrective. So if you move in a 3, you're going to, at some point, inevitably head towards the lows again. And then what did it do from those April lows? What you don't want to see, a 3. Let's see what the relationship is in terms of fib levels. Now, if you've been watching my videos regularly, or you've been following my training program, first link in description, you'll know ABC. Common levels, 1.618, 1.236, 1 to 1 as well is a very common one. Take the fib levels across these and let's see what it approximates. Well, it's just above, but basically, it's close enough to a 1 to 1. So not great. Some of the alts that are topped last year, so in Feb, March 2024, looking extremely weak now, like FET as well, as mentioned before. XRP was the kind of dark horse that could do something, and it did. It did make another all-time high here, which is significant. And the problem here, you see I've already pretty much drawn it on, is again, this move here looked very, very choppy. This beginning move, very, very choppy. And then we needed to now really start extending. We've not done that, and we're getting quite a deep pullback. So you wonder, this is a 3, 3, and we're just tracing out a larger correction. And again, very similar to Bitcoin, there's an argument now to say even XRP, this late mover, and it did move late, its all-time high was right at the end. How will you know, like, for sure? Well, in terms of probability, it gets to nearly 100% if we drop a little bit further. If we get to this price here, so these highs here, 266, so then it can't be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because then this would come into here. Don't want to get back into price territory here. Otherwise, it just gets messy, it takes forever, and very likely we're just messing about in the next bear market without knowing it for the next 9 months, waiting for alt season, not knowing that we're actually enduring a full-on bear market whilst we wait for alt season, but it's next season's alt season. And next season's alt season is going to be absolute shit based on how these alts have looked at the latter stages of this cycle. Few of the random ones, Injective, which was very good this cycle, but again much earlier, March 2024 top. Just remove the drawings there. What can you see? Just tagged that high in May, and then completely falls off a cliff, already down 22% with no signs of stopping that I could see. Like I said, the only thing that could save this is if we are doing that, and then this is just the mini one in the middle here, but then it literally has to turn now. It should have really got support on this high. It should have gone up here, support, and then carried on. It needs to turn like immediately. It's already like the probability of this just completely dumping now is 70%, 80%. And if it goes down a little bit more, maybe another 20% more, it's up to 90% in my opinion. And remember, even these coins that are already down from the highs, this is the important thing that people don't understand with altcoins, any crypto coin, is down 70%. But from where it is, even though it's down 70%, it can go back down another 90%. And it'll be back to where it was in November 22. And that's no problem for crypto coins like this at all. I've seen it over many, many years, all the time. So just be careful with that. You're thinking you're buying at a 70% discount, but you're buying dead coins that can go down another 90% more. Please be careful. AVAX, same thing. So to be honest, it really is a market for shorts right now. By the way, if you leverage trade or you're looking for short setups, the best way here is get onto a small time frame like 4 hourly and stuff. And what you're looking for is a half decent pullback now. It's much safer than just shorting after loads and loads of red candles. That's not optimal. So what you want to do is wait for a three-wave move back the other way up, wait for price to kind of sideways, look to start dumping again, then you short and you place your stop loss right above. Hope for a nice bounce, and then short and don't close your position. That's how you would do it now in this scenario where we've clearly just taken out these highs and completed a lot of three-wave moves. HBAR was the other one that looked like it was getting a few legs and actually did alright for me here in terms of catching some of this move anyway. But it stalled and didn't really extend enough. And to be honest, this move, the original move, it almost looked like a double bottom, but this original move looked very corrective. So it looked more like, if you're looking downwards, a 335. Maybe it was a 1.618, let's see. Yeah, literally on the dot. So what's happening is, if you come here and you click, right click on the chart on TradingView, you can actually invert the chart. So if you invert the scale, basically what I'm saying is, remove these drawings. So let's say, obviously the chart's upside down now, so we're moving this way, and then we have a correction, and then we keep moving this way again. But the real chart's actually the other way around. So actually we've completed a correction up, 335 flat, and we're actually moving down. So it makes sense that this was actually a 5-wave move. Hype was the other one that had a decent run earlier in the year. And with this particular one, again, you're asking the question, has it topped? Well, you're looking at key levels here, key swing points. So, for example, we are on one right now. So at 37, 34, we're actually literally on one. This is a key level. And these levels here, very, very key. Very, very key. Because these are almost kind of higher degree wave fours. So if these levels are kind of lost here, you also would argue that hype could be done too. Just again, a lot later than some of the others. And it reached that nice round just under 50 psychological level. Quick mention on what else we have, like Jupiter, same thing here. Very weak three-wave move, tagged the highs there and then rocketed back down. And to be honest, there's no point discussing any other altcoins. There is no strength anywhere else. All of these are old coins now, like SEI and stuff, which I think have topped. Which is why many months ago when I talked about a longer bear market for all of what I meant really was, when longer bear market, I meant a lot of coins have already topped, like 99.9% of them. They're in a forever, not a longer bear market, forever bear market. They'll never reach their highs again. And you don't need to worry about that, because all you have to do is next cycle, focus on the new stuff, like Solana was this time, Ethereum last time, stuff like that. You just focus on the new stuff. And that's where you make your multiples. And there were a few, there's a little bit to be made in this final phase. But it's just not great at all, because even if, Bitcoin immediately turns around and does its final, how many altcoins is it going to drag up now? I don't think many at all. So I'm very cautiously saying, I think we're done. And And even in my Bitcoin video, I said, at best, we've got a little spike to 130 and then we're done anyway. So either way, does it really matter? You need to, again, you don't need no fancy exit plan. Just sell everything if you haven't already and just wait for any little opportunities. And if you're a very experienced trader, look to trade using other opportunities, like, to the downside, of course. Altcoin interest, we had a peak a little bit lower than the one we saw in December. Not clear whether it's rounding off now, but if interest does drop, that's not a good sign either, because we may have again done a little peak here, as you can see. So I'm zooming out here, so you can see these are 2021. This was the second phase, and these were, well, this was the March high, then we had a December high of the Dino coins, and this could be the potentially final peak. Now there's obviously arguments about liquidity cycles and money printing and interest rates and stuff like that, but guys, don't get bogged down by that. Everything's on the charts. If anything crazy was to happen in future, and by the way, sometimes when rates do start coming down drastically, those are top signs anyway, historically, in the stock market. So be prepared for that in the general stock market anyway. But whatever people are saying about liquidity, maybe that's relevant for next cycle, not this cycle. So maybe in 9, 10, 12 months, when some of the more important coins bottom out and then move up. But to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people next time, they just all ape into Bitcoin on leverage and call it a day. If indeed this is it or about it, obviously in upcoming videos I'll discuss kind of targets as to where I think we could, where would be higher probability areas where we could kind of pull back. But you need to let the structure play out a bit. This is not like 5 months ago anybody could say, all right, we're going to go there. It doesn't work that way. It's, you get some price action and then you get some very, very valuable clues. And then it gets really, really obvious once you start taking out levels. But remember, that's not obvious to retail. Retail won't know. Retail won't know if Bitcoin's coming under 100. They'll be like, oh, it's a good time to buy the dip. And then, 3 years go by and they're still buying the dip. They just don't understand. Finally, let's talk about something a little bit positive. Like, is there any final opportunities for anything to run? Again, I'm making an assumption here that Bitcoin is nearly topped. And a lot of the altcoins have kind of completed corrective moves here. But if anything was to run, keep an eye on CoinMarketCap. See if anything's pumping. Any of these smaller random crappy shill coins, random gaming coins, stuff like that. Just see if anything goes up 10% on a day while everything's dumping, and then kind of jump on board, because that might just be doing a quick 2-day, 3-day, 200%. You never know. The one I'm looking at is Pump, which I've discussed again quite a few times over the last few weeks. And then here, what am I looking for is basically a Pengu type move. And what you need to see happen is a massive dump. Fantastic. We've got that 66%. I thought it could dump a lot more, actually, to 78%, but whatever. And then you want to see it kind of go sideways and accumulate. Is it already starting that? I don't think so. It's still 3 wave. I think it's got more dumping to go, but at some point it could curve round and you could get a few multiples there. And that could happen very, very quickly in the space of days. And I'll be all over that if that happens. And that's just a technical, strategic pump. It's not even the team really doing anything. It's just the way it works with these new things. And obviously they may or may not do airdrops and stuff like that. So there'll be random attention on the coin. Attention without an airdrop increases price anyway and stuff. But basically the move you're looking for is exactly this one on Pengu. Again, just sharing potential opportunity. I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen, but I'm saying keep an eye on it. All we're looking for is this move, and we're just looking for this opportunity. I don't think we'll get this whole thing, but you'll get this. And even this on Pengu from the lows, 250, 300%, maybe more. That's a decent opportunity for some multiples there, and kind of low risk if the price is going sideways at the lows, so you can put a clear stop in place. But guys, what do you think? Like, is alt season really just around the corner tomorrow or next week? Do you really believe that? Or is this really the end stages of this particular kind of 4-year-ish cycle? Thanks for listening.